All right. For those of you guys that are done designing your roller coaster, and I can see some of you are doing this already, the next step is that you are going to label each high point and each low point along your roller coaster. So you're going to start at the very beginning of your roller coaster, and that's going to be point A, like the lowest spot there before your first hill. From there, it goes up your hill, and the middle of that hill should be point B. The middle, not the middle of the hill, sorry, the top of that hill should be point B. On your way down, the lowest point is going to be point C. So every single high point and every single low point needs a label on it that goes in consecutive order, A, B, C, D, E. Very good. Yep. Stuff labeled from A to B to C to D. Right, the next step is this, and this is kind of a tricky step. So if you're looking at your roller coaster as it's spread out on there, so I'm going to borrow Ellie's here for a second just so I can have a visual aid. If you're looking at your roller coaster like this, imagine it as though it were one single piece of like bendable wire, like a coat hanger or something that you bend into this shape. We could straighten it out, right? If we did that. What we're going to say is that we're going to pretend to do that and say that from A all the way to the end of your roller coaster is equal to 1,000 meters. So we're just saying if we straighten this out from A to the end is 1,000 meters. So what I'm asking you to do is estimate how long your distances are from A to B. And there's a spot to record that on here where it says from A to B, distance covered. You're going to estimate, knowing that this whole thing is 1,000 meters long, how far it is from A to B on there, and then from C to D. If you were using numbers like 57.9 and 113 point something, you're doing it wrong. Keep it simple, like 90, 150, 200, 300. And when you're all done, those numbers should total up to 1,000 because it's 1,000 from start to finish. All right, wherever you happen to be at right now, you're going to stop what you're doing and bring your focus here. And I'm going to explain to you how to figure out the second column, which is energy lost. So even if you don't have distance covered done, or if distance covered is partially done, we're still going to do the energy lost column on here. So no matter where you're at, you might have to write a little note on there, you might want to highlight something, whatever, but that's how we're going to do it. So as we do this energy lost column, all you're going to do is this. In the first column, you've got distance covered, and you should have a value there from A to B, correct? Okay. Every single meter, we figured this out yesterday, that your roller coaster travels, it loses 1,773 joules of energy. So in order to figure out how much energy is lost, you are going to use the formula at the top of that column. Energy lost equals distance covered times 1,773. That's the next step to take, is figuring out energy lost. And it's distance, which is column number 1 that you filled out, times 1,773. We've got 3 minutes, those of you guys that are on pace with me, 3 minutes to go through those calculations. So if you've got multiple people in your group, like divide it up. I'll do the first 4, you do the next 4, you do the last couple. We'll do it that way. So 3 minutes. The next column, anyhow. So we are on to the energy remaining. And this is a subtraction deal. So this is just subtraction. You're never going to clear your calculator as you go through this. You're never going to have to erase anything on your calculator. Here's how calculating the energy remaining works. Cole, can I get you to focus here, please? Thank you. So we are doing it like this. You are starting, everybody starts with the same amount of energy because we've all got the same height first hill and we've all got the same mass of cart. Yesterday we figured out that number, that at the top of your first hill, you have 2,646,000 joules of energy. So this is like your, hey Desi, thanks. This is like your starting bank account right there. Consider this money if you want to. Every column after that, you said you lost energy, right? So you're going to start with that number, and you're going to subtract energy lost from this number. So it's going to be minus energy lost, and you're going to come up with an answer, whatever that number is. So this is your new answer. Then you're just going to take energy lost away again, and you'll come up with a new answer for the next one. So we're trying to figure out how much energy you've got at each of those points. So it's a subtraction deal. You started with this much, You lost this much, so now how much do you have left? You lost this much more, so now how much do you have left? And that's what we're doing. So those are the next steps you guys are on. Is everybody or our groups through the energy remaining category now? All right. On to the one, we're going to do two columns at the same time here. Gravitational potential energy, yes, no, or kinetic, yes, no. And this is a really simple thing to follow through and do. All you're looking for, we're going to start at your first high point. Everybody's first high point should be B, correct? Yep. So we're talking about from A to B. B is at a high point. If it's at a high point, does it have a lot of kinetic energy or a lot of gravitational potential energy? So because it's a high point, you're going to put a Y in the gravitational potential energy column. And because you've got a Y in the GPE column, you're going to put an N or a no in the kinetic energy column. So you can't have a yes in both columns. You can't have a no in both columns. It's either one or the other. So then you're going to go down to find C. Is C on yours a high point or a low point? If it's a low point, it's a yes for kinetic and a no for GPE. So this should take about a minute for you guys to go through your roller coaster and figure out what type of energy is there. All right, so with your yes and no's complete, we're going to go on to the next column, which will probably be the last one we get today, and that's fine. We weren't able to build today, but we can build next time. So on that last column, it says like height possible or possible height. What we're trying to figure out is the maximum height you could make that feature, because if it were higher than that, it couldn't make it around it. So we're trying to come up with a maximum number. Here is how you do that. You are going to use this formula up here. You're going to take the energy remaining that you've got. So any place that you've got a GPE yes is a column we're talking about. So if you've got a GPE no, we're not talking about that one. So if you've got a GPE yes, we're going to find how much energy you've got remaining. You're going to write that number down on your paper right now. So whichever one you've got a GPE yes for, the very first one you've got, you're going to write a number down for how much energy is left at that point on a piece of paper. So any place, McKenna, that you've got a yes for GPE? No, I know. Okay. Huh? Not yet. Don't even mess with them. So does everybody have a number written down right now? Okay. That number tells you how much energy is available, and we're going to set it equal to GPE. So we're going to use our GPE formula, which is mass, and the mass of all of our carts is exactly the same. It was 4,500. So you're writing this down. So energy remaining equals 4,500 times gravity, which is 9.8, times height. What we're trying to do with this equation is solve for h. To do that, combine these two terms, 4,500 times 9.8. Isn't it like 44 or 100 or something like that when you do that? So this is equal to 44,100 times h equals your energy remaining, equals this stuff. If you're in this format, you've got a number here, you've got these here. How do you solve for h now? Pretty good. Divide by 44,100, and that cancels. Divide this side by 44,100, and whatever number is left will tell you how high up that feature can be at the maximum. If it were any higher than that, it wouldn't work. So any place you have a GPE yes, you've got to do that calculation. Make sense? Okay. If you make it through there, that's as far as we're going to get today, and that's fine.